Welcome back to the Mark Thru podcast. You're listening to episode 3. In this episode, we talk a little bit about the latest news regarding ICU Worlds and AllStar Worlds, as well as cheer in the Olympics, the UCA Stunt progression sheet, and a grassroots movement within AllStar, All Stars United. We got a lot to cover in this episode, so we're glad you're tuning in. Want to give a quick shout out to this episode's sponsor, Velcro, the new Velcro strap roller for cheer mats. Have you ever hand-rolled a dirty, hairy, scratchy Velcro strap after a long, sweaty cheer practice? We have too. That's why we have to recommend Velcro. We have one down at County. It makes a difference when we're rolling up those straps. 8 straps every day. It saves so much time when we're trying to just wrap up practice and get out. So make sure you guys check it out. Velcro.com, Velcro on social media, also available on Amazon. Velcro, the new Velcro strap roller for cheer mats. Thanks for listening to the Mark Thru. Make sure you subscribe. Episode 3. Music's on!
You ready for this? Who live is us? Who lit is this? Who real is us? We too legit. We are M-A-R-K-T-H-R-U Mark Thru Podcast. Listen and learn, watch and observe. Challenging us, they got some nerve. He great. You mad? Don't hate. Get to it. Don't wait. We do not hesitate. We doing what it takes. What we do. Mark Thru.
There. Now we can start.
Cool. So we're back in podcast mode in our
Yes.
sweet studio rather than vlog mode.
Yes.
But gotta record another one in a couple days.
Yeah, it's the end of the month.
End of the month. You seem a little stressed about that, honey.
It's been a long day with Murph. She had a mental growth spurt this week, and I can definitely tell. So she has needed me a lot today. So
I can tell.
yeah. So
All
keep
right.
an eye on her.
Yeah. Maybe I should keep an eye on her.
Whatever you need to do.
Alright, deal. Jumping in, we have some recent news that actually came out this week. Came out from ICU and from IASF and USASF about the Dayton Swap for 2020, which it's all happening in the same weekend it was. It's not like it's shuffling from, April into May or anything, but it's, to my knowledge, it's the first time that they're going to be swapping the order of the events during the week. So
Yeah, that's the first time I've ever seen it or heard that it's going to swap.
yeah,
So
swap.
I think this is the first time.
Yeah, so it's been going, Worlds has been going on since the mid-2000s, but ICU started in 2009, 2010. So it's always kind of been that Thursday, Friday, opening ceremony Thursday around noon, and then they get started with the ICU events throughout this, the semifinal or prelims on that Thursday, and then it ends with finals Friday, and then closing ceremonies, and they're done. And then as they grew, of course, they started doing stuff before the opening ceremonies in the other venues, just to begin those kind of prelim competitions, which isn't anything strange. The Olympics does that. They'll have the opening ceremony, or they'll begin TV coverage, and kind of those preliminaries have already started. So that's nothing major. This does kind of put that prestige, in my opinion, the prestige of the national teams, USA cheer.
I like it. I like the swap.
Thailand, Canada, Norway, Sweden, all those country teams are now going to be competing at the end of the weekend. So it puts All-Star first, puts the youth side of it, and obviously All-Star extends up 18 and beyond, but it puts the prestige more on the federations, on those governing bodies that have these teams. I think it'll be cool, and then with the summit following it, a lot more people will be just staying through coach-wise and, and having those crossover kids stay. Mm-hmm. So I think it'll be good for cheerleading to have more exposure for those younger kids. They're going to be able to get there, do their stuff, and if they stay for a day to go to the parks, or because it's still the weekend for them, because it's still Saturday, Sunday, Monday, or Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, whatever those days are for ICU now. So these kids are going to have a chance to go see you know, the U.S. national team, and gonna go see Thailand, Australia, New Zealand, you know, all these teams, Team Jamaica, they're always dancing.
I feel like it just makes more sense to have it at the end of the weekend. And like, I will say for us, I'm wrapping up my work week when all of that stuff starts. So I don't even get a chance to watch opening ceremonies or see that beginning of the competition start. I would rather see it at the end of the weekend, but that's just because I am not a kid anymore and I don't look forward to Worlds and watching all of these all-star teams. Like,
totally.
Unfortunately, with my age, I just don't care to watch that all weekend. Like, I'd rather. I like the change. I think it's a good flip, a good switch.
Yeah, and you know, with this prestige and with putting the emphasis on the ICU World side of it, that's the Olympic model. That's what they're going for. And actually today on Facebook and Twitter, everybody's being goons sharing a 3-year-old article dated December 2016.
Literally 2 years ago.
Almost 3.
Oh my God, it's 2019.
Mom brain. But in that article that everybody's sharing, it's like cheerleading receives the provisional status from the IOC, which is great, but it was only a 3-year like starting time period, probationary, whatever you want to call it. So that's going to be coming up. So we'll have some news on that hopefully this fall.
That'd be great.
Whether it gets extended, the IOC adds more grants to it, because before that came with money that went to all of the national governing bodies to give a lift for cheer programs to see.
Couldn't be more excited to find out what happens.
Yeah, so
what the Olympics are gonna do.
Yeah, so our kid, you know, graduate high school in like, you know, what is that, 37? So, you know, as long as they get to the Olympics by what, 36, 40, I feel like we could see Murph out there, right?
We could.
No pressure, kid. When do you think cheerleading will be in the Olympics?
I don't know. I really don't know, because I feel like the information we get is either dated, and I don't know like exactly when they jumped in and had these meetings. Like,
what?
Who do they talk to? Like,
well,
who does varsity talk to?
No, varsity doesn't talk to anybody. You gotta remember, it's the ICU.
Okay, so who does ICU?
They talk to the International Olympic Committee, the IOC.
Okay. I don't know.
And so before, everybody always like, get cheer in the Olympics. Maybe it'll happen by 2020. Maybe it'll happen by 2024. But until 2016, they weren't even members of cheerleading. Wasn't even a member of the IOC.
Right.
So now for the last 2.5 years, we've been in this like probationary entry status, which they added Muay Thai fighting, which is that I forget, is it Vietnamese or?
Is that just like tricking?
No, it's like fighting, but it's like martial arts based.
Gotcha.
Like parts of MMA are based on
Gotcha.
Muay Thai, but so it's like a specific fighting type. So that and cheerleading got that kind of status 3 years ago. So it'll just be interesting to see how that rolls. I mean, a decade ago, it was like, ooh, could cheerleading be, you know, a probationary sport at 2016 Olympics? That's past. No.
Right.
You know, could it be 2020? We're a year away. Ain't gonna happen.
Yeah.
2024 could be a maybe if they want something.
That's what I'm saying. I don't know. I don't know how to answer your question, because I really don't know.
But I think a lot of people don't think it's possible, or a lot of people think it's kind of a silly goal. But I think it'd be really great for the sport. I think it would set a lot of precedents for how the sport should kind of grow or expand for both the school and all-star, for college, just all around. How is it going to change once it gets there? And so I think Olympics would be good for the sport.
When do you think cheerleading will be in the Olympics?
I think 28 or 30.
That's fair.
Not 30, 32. 28 or 32.
How passionate are they about making it happen? I think that's why I have no idea when it will happen.
Well, the people that are the governing body are the ICU, and those people that do that have dual roles or dual investment in their role. So if they get it in the Olympics, their wallets significantly grow, because of the growth of the sport, because shoes have to be bought, uniforms have to be bought, practice wear has to be bought, camps and competitions have to be attended to. So there's a lot at stake for a lot of people. I mean, even ourselves with this, it would help us. We'd have a ton of content to talk about, all the different countries. I just think it would be awesome for the sport overall.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely.
But it'll be a little bit longer, I think. Because if it's...
You're thinking another 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel like that's generous. Yeah.
Because if they change the status now, at the end of this 3-year term, they still have to like build a case that there's going to be enough viewers, enough participation of teams,
that's what I was going to ask,
and enough high-level competition. So I think last year's ICU Worlds, as much as it didn't go the way for the USA women, the all-girl team, but that was good for the sport because they'd been undefeated before that. And how can you say this is an international sport?
This is the second year they lost in a row, though.
How are you going to say this is an international sport when the same country dominates both sides of it, co-ed and all-girl? So at least the other countries are now making their way to the top of the podium. I think the International Olympic Committee, the IOC, is looking for a thing like cheerleading to get another team sport out there. I mean, think about when we were growing up, Team USA, that was like the men's basketball team. They were on cereal boxes, they were everywhere. Not saying cheerleading is anywhere like that, but that drew so much attention to the 92 and 1996 Olympic Games for like young people. And now that we're in this era of social media and viral video and
for sure
connected, the internet culture that we live in, why wouldn't the IOC want a sport that has a passionate fan base, that has
a huge
people
fan base,
worldwide that are obsessed with this sport?
Absolutely.
Why wouldn't they want that? I mean, just right there they get,
I have to fact check myself on that.
So many different things.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the fan base, just as you said, in itself is like, it's not only massive, but it's dedicated, it's passionate. I don't know that the Olympic Committee knows that, I'm sure they care about that, but to what extent?
It's all about how ICU portrays itself. And then another level of the decision, because right now, like ICU Worlds, the Olympic model competes all-girl premier, co-ed premier, and then they compete all-girl elite and co-ed elite. And the elite is kind of like the lesser skilled level which is fair. They're making an on-ramp for these countries. They're not going to just throw them to the slaughterhouse with the couple of countries that have been doing it for decades.
Right.
But on the premier side, there's significantly less teams. Yeah. So that, I believe that part has to go up.
Right. I'm sure it does. I don't know do we know like do they have like a number, since it's never been like an Olympic game? I wonder if, I'm sure in their own documents they have a specific number of like how many teams, how many athletes, but since it's never been done before, I wonder how many they want or need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because it's like we talked about in one of our previous episodes, with the NCAA, they said, we need X number of colleges with your sport for emerging sport status, but there's not really like, you need 200,000 kids participating, you need, so many nationwide competitions and international competitions. Maybe that does exist, but you're right, we're not necessarily privy to that.
And to fact check myself, in 2018 and in 2019, Team USA all-girl took silver.
Okay, so I was wrong.
But they had a winning streak since 2009 through 2017 of getting first every single time. So the past 2 years, we've gotten second.
Interesting. Pause for baby. Murph! Yeah, so Olympics will be good eventually for the sport.
I hope sooner than later.
I hope sooner than later, but for now, we have ICU Worlds. Moving on from Worlds and Worlds, swapping, jumping in, Lauren, I'll let you take this side of it.
So UCA stunt progression. So every year we get a new grid, if you will. It's not a grid.
And updates to the grid, per se, not necessarily.
I guess. I don't like calling it a grid because to me, from judging AllStar, that is a legitimate grid that we judge off of. Mm-hmm. But in high school, it's a progression sheet, I guess. But across this stunt progression sheet, in the past, it'll say intermediate, advanced, elite, super elite, and then what those skills are.
Yep.
For whatever reason this year, the company has decided to completely take that off, and it is just a grid. And it lists things going down. Obviously, if they're talking about like the list going down says release skills, inversion skills, twisting skills, other, and then co-ed style. But now we don't even have categories as judges to stand on, and really, I'm not okay with that.
Really, the score sheet part, that difficulty part, should be broken down into kind of a formula. It shouldn't be up to the judge, because it says number of stunts performed, number of bases used. So why isn't that a formula? I see 4 groups out there. You're in medium. You get your difficulty. If I only see 3 groups, you're knocked down a little bit in difficulty.
A smart judge would do that.
But why isn't that the system? There's no defaults. That's what I'm saying. There's no defaults in the sport. Like think of gymnastics, an often compared sport to cheerleading. There's degree of difficulty for every single skill you throw. So with gymnastics, it's all preset. Diving, same thing. You get out there, I'm gonna do this dive, and they know that. And then once they're scored on their execution, then it's they do the math against the degree of difficulty, and they come up with the score for that. Why can't we do that for cheerleading? Can't we all come to an agreement and say that a lib is harder than an extension, a stretch is harder than a lib, like a full up to prep is easier than a full up to extension?
And when I've tried to talk to people about this,
why can't we put that on a line?
Well, I've tried to talk to people about this. They're like, well, the new progression sheet, it's implied. Like the hardest skills are on the right side of the sheet and the easier skills are on the left side of the sheet. Why does it have to be implied? No, exactly.
There's no arrows, there's no numbers.
You want to make this sport legitimate. That is all of our goal. We all want to have this sport being taken seriously. And you're going to take away the 3-point line in a basketball game.
But you can still earn 3 points if you shoot back far enough according to the ref.
Yeah.
That's what that is saying.
That's exactly what that's saying. It's like taking all of the lines off of a basketball court. It's like taking all of the lines off a football field. I feel like this just took away our lines almost, if you will, in cheerleading. And given we probably won't experience any issues with it.
But if the worry was that there's too much discrepancy and there's too much room for interpretation of people saying, well, this was in the super elite box, why then are we moving the opposite direction and opening up that interpretation and discretion rather than, like what we're saying, close it up?
Yeah.
Because if we could keep this chart, every skill needs to be on here. It needs to be numbered, or it needs to have a value associated with it.
It needs to have a value associated with it. That's exactly what it needs. Because otherwise you're asking your choreographer to put together,
their vision of the stunt progression sheet. Like, we made the subjective sport more subjective.
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah, we really did. I'm curious if, I haven't even really looked at some of these skills. I was just mostly checking our skills off and checking their boxes to see where we were going to land this season, since I don't know now.
Guess what? It landed in a box. Good luck figuring out what it is. Yeah, knowing is just the key.
I just don't like to be blindsided by anything, and neither do our kids.
No.
So, again, signed off, XOXO, frustrated, Lauren.
A need for some standards across cheerleading is definitely present. And that brings us to our next topic for this episode. So it's news-ish. It happened earlier this summer, but a massive group of AllStar gym owners have kind of been churning this grassroots movement for AllStar in hopes of making change. Because all these gym owners, they're business owners at the end of the day. They're going to be coaches, they're going to be the admin in the building. Sometimes they're hands-on, sometimes they're hands-off. But at the end of the day, if the sport's crazy, it affects their business, which is their livelihood for their family and their home. So cheerleading on the AllStar side has of late been swaying out of favor of all these small business owners, these gym owners, and becoming in favor of the event producers, the competition brands, when those brands in USASF truly do benefit when those small businesses thrive. If those small businesses, if these gym owners thrive, they're bringing more kids to competition, they're buying more gear, they're going to more camps, they're getting more music. So that's a big disconnect that I've never understood, is why aren't the event producers and the governing body really truly supporting? We've seen some initiatives, the varsity rebate, USASF mentorship programs, but beyond that, people are getting upset, they're getting fed up. And so they started it in the spring, talking about it, and they set a meeting and they posted a picture, but look how many people came to Florida for this meeting. These are people from across the country. This message was posted by Brad Havermill from Cheer Athletics. 170 attendees representing 1,600 teams on the AllStar side. But the cool part, and what led us into this topic, is they were taking polling from these gym owners and coaches that were present. They were doing it electronically. They were getting the opinion of a massive group of people that were there, people that weren't there, not just 5 stakeholders, 10 stakeholders that affected the business with their decision. They're saying, how can we lift everyone up and lift the sport up simultaneously? And so then, a few weeks later, they released their kind of press release to to the event producers, to the competition brands. Look at this list of teams, these gyms down here. It's crazy. Now, Suns here in Colorado.
They want change.
Yeah, people want change on that side. So what they came to, they listed their function, what they're trying to get done, but then these proposals, they were so specific, but not too narrow where it was like, oh, well, you're asking for the world.
Right.
They're asking for, basic things. So I thought this was an interesting one that I had never really thought of. So this one's under their music proposals. Gyms who pay for custom mixes should maintain some level of ownership over that music beyond a single season. So right now, when you buy your music, you're just buying a license for a year, which from your provider, you could probably arrange to buy it for 3 years or 5 years. So that's kind of on us, and that's more of the industry standard. But then it goes into... They wanting
to pass that music down.
That's what they go into. But they said, why can't we use those in social media promotions and videos? And I think some people do if they're creative, but I think that opening that up with some official capacity would help those gym owners use that music.
Now, is that up to them, or is that, I guess I instantly, when you said social media, doesn't Facebook and Instagram, wouldn't they flag that and say, wouldn't that be up to them?
No, their flags usually only pick up full tracks, not like a mix or a blend.
Oh, sure. Okay, that makes sense.
But the other part of the music proposal, so they said they would like to form libraries, so clips of music without sound effects, whole routines without sound effects and voiceovers, for use at lower price points. So an industry kind of database of tunes that are all 2 minutes, 2 minutes 15, 2:30, whatever these teams need, so that then they can just go in and they can add their own basic voiceovers and things to kind of minimize the cost, because people are paying crazy amounts.
It's so expensive to get routine music.
And then what you said a moment ago, the third point was encourage gyms to use fewer fully customized mixes, and I believe that's so that they can hand them down. Like, why would a gym, if they have 6 teams, need to buy 6 mixes? Granted, the routines are different, but aren't they all doing cheerleading? Shouldn't the layout of the routine be somewhat similar, where they could use those sound effects and use those voiceovers? Again, I mean, we buy a varsity mix and a JV mix, and that works fine. I think it'd be interesting if we had to use the same, if our state or the NFHS said it was getting out of hand, then they put their own limits on it.
Never thought about reusing music like that, but how nice would that be?
Right? We make such custom mixes that's just become like the norm, where what if it could be? It's not like our mix says county varsity, just as Douglas County, count on county, all those things.
To just remove all of the dings and zips of like when they pull a stretch or when they do a chin pop, and like just take those out, let them work a routine to it, and then re-put them in wherever. That would be really nice.
And just pay for edits rather than full creations, full symphonies. So that's going to be interesting to see if that ever gets implemented, how it gets implemented, anything like that. But
my heart hurts for gyms kind of here. I've never thought about how much music they've had to buy.
Right? So here's something. So they proposed, under video proposals, gyms should have the right to post videos of their own teams on social media to promote their gyms and to promote the sport. They said example events could include verbiage in their event terms that specifically allow gyms and athletes what's known as fair use of their own video. So fair use is something that's on YouTube and on Facebook, like you're talking about with the music.
Yeah.
I got flagged for a video the other day because it had 5 seconds of a song playing in the background.
Like on the radio or something?
Mm-hmm. And I had to, because it was a shot from a gym, and it was the music in the background of the gym. You can barely hear it. I have no idea what song it is. I do agree that I've heard that tune.
Yeah.
But so I had to dispute it, and I had to say, this is fair use. This is in the background. I'm not promoting it. I'm not selling it. I'm not using this to take away from this original creator.
Obnoxious.
And so right now, if a gym was at a competition and they post a video of it, if it's owned or run by the right company, they're doing takedowns immediately.
Yeah.
Stingray All-Stars posted videos of their teams at a competition this year. I think it was Cheer Sport, and their channel got wiped because of the disputes that were filed by the media company. Not naming any names, you know who you are. But like you're saying, the gyms, these gym owners I believe have every right to make these requests and proposals, because they're in the trenches. They're the ones working with hundreds of kids every day, every week.
Yeah.
They're charging families, and then at the end of the day, the gyms aren't benefiting, and we're seeing gyms close more and more every year, which there's always going to be a risk. Gyms are always going to close, just like restaurants are always going to close.
Right.
Sporting goods stores, you still have to be a good business owner, but it's leading to kind of gym franchises. The ones that are successful are buying up multi-locations, and that kind of created a divide across the industry. Large gym, small gym, which turned into D1, D2, which I don't believe is good for the industry, because going back to our first topic, there's not a small country division in the Olympics. They don't say Lithuania, Switzerland, and Portugal, you guys are competing. USA, Russia, and Germany, you guys are competing. Like, that doesn't exist. It's, you bring the best to it, and if we're talking a sports competition, why are we separating by how they train or by locale size? So, I think that these proposals could go a long way. I just am dying to know what they kind of...
When do they get an answer?
Let's see.
And who do they formally request this to?
So they requested this to all event producers. So they sent it to USASF, to Varsity, AllStar, Infinity has a competition division.
Well, competitions start in a month, so like they need an answer soon, right?
Yeah, so Yeah, so they said we recognize that some of these are going to be long-term changes rather than band-aids.
There
so,
it is.
And the key is that they did it respectfully, and they said,
I think they did a great job.
And in this letter, they said we want to work alongside the event producers. We want to work alongside, and I think that that's so important because for years it was a group of people saying this is how the sport is, this is how the sport's going to be, these are the sport changes, and for it to grow, it can't do that anymore. There's too many people involved, and it's not just cheerleading anymore. You know,
it's people's lives, it's their
totally
livelihoods. And like we're lucky enough where we have 2 actual full-time jobs, so like cheerleading is not our livelihood, but it is, I would say, our passion.
Very much.
It's something we care about, and it helps us get through the day-to-day of our regular jobs. It used to be
my career.
Yeah,
it used to be my full-time when I worked for varsity.
Yeah,
and I mean, literally full-time.
Cheerleading brought us together and a child into this world and all the things. So, like, I understand your frustration when you hear, like, at the end of the day, it's just cheerleading.
Hate that.
I know, but I think we're seeing that change because at the end of the day, it is cheerleading, but cheerleading is everything to a lot of people, so that's almost insulting to say.
Yeah.
But how you were saying this is now they want to work alongside, that just takes me right back to the second topic we talked about with stunt progressions. I love that message of we just want to work alongside of you and make this sport better.
Yeah, and the person that
is that not what we all want at the end of the day, is for the sport to be better?
Yeah, and the person that posted this is a coach and it's an owner. It was Courtney Smith Pope from CEA, so Cheer Extreme in North Carolina, where Jay and Whitney now work.
Gotcha.
So she's been doing this for years. She wants it to be great.
She wants to be good for her kids.
Yeah, we all spend time in this sport. What's the outcome? Is it yourself, or are you going to leave it good for the next generation?
Yeah.
That's how I view what we're doing here. It's not game changing, it's not world changing.
No.
But it's expanding on what cheerleading is.
Yeah.
And it's growing the sport to be something greater, to be those premier sports, the football, the basketball, the soccer, the baseball. Those sports rarely include women.
Yeah.
Why can't a women's sport that's a little different, that's a little more subjective, not so point-based or ball-based, be something of a focus? We've seen it this year with college gymnastics having their revival with that one gal from UCLA. She does a new routine, and it's everywhere on social media and YouTube in a matter of days.
Yep.
And it's like that. Why can't cheerleading get to that point?
Can't wait to have her on the next episode of the podcast.
That would be sweet. We'll send an email. I think right now the industry is so sporadic and off the wall that it is choose your own, which allows a lot of freedom and allows a lot of people to grow, to be successful and grow in their own right.
Yeah.
But when other people not in the sport look at it, I think that is something that they focus on, is why is it all so different?
Yeah. Well, and speaking of that, the style that the U.S. national team does their routine in, like the way they do their routine, the format. Thank you. I was struggling for words.
That's the ICU World's competition format.
Yes. So it's cheer, then probably about 2 minutes of a routine, right? Mm-hmm. But at high school, we do maybe routine, cheer, routine.
Yeah.
NCA does cheer, routine, and then AllStar does full routine, no cheer at all.
Unless you're in the global division, which is an IASF side, which is an initiative where they're adding the cheer back in. Mm-hmm. So that is an international division. Is that getting us closer?
Right.
Not many people do that global division.
That's a change I'm willing to work with, because are we trying to make that change across the board, across all cheerleading, whether that's AllStar, high school, game day, college? Do we want that all to get on the same page? That way, when we do hopefully finally get the acceptance letter of you're now going to compete in the Olympics, there's no question of what does that format look like.
Yeah, because when you play basketball when you're 5, it's the same basketball you play if you're in the NBA.
Yeah, 100%.
You have
The
the
only thing that
three-point
changes
line.
is the 3-point line.
The goal gets a little bigger as you grow. The court gets bigger.
Right.
I mean, same with football. You tag football, touch football, flag football, all that.
Yeah.
And then you evolve into tackle.
Yeah.
Same with baseball, t-ball, machine pitch, coach pitch, player pitch. But it's still baseball. You still have 9 on the field for baseball. You still have 11 on the field for football.
You still have a 3-point line, and you don't get it taken away and saying, "Hey, we'll guess that's a 3 if you shoot over there."
Are you mad? Are you mad?
I just want to know the difference between elite and super elite.
Are you mad?
Anger.
Oh.
You know the Angry Beavers, that Nickelodeon show?
Yes.
I'm there.
You're there.
I'm right there.
Did you know, this is an off-the-wall Scott point, did you know that...
The answer's probably no, I didn't know, but go
yes,
ahead.
You're right, the answer is no. That the clock on the wall in the Angry Beavers home was accurate per episode, and the animators would move it. So if the kids were... if the beaver kids were in the kitchen for the entire episode coloring, it moved nice and slow. But if they're in and out throughout the day, and it was like morning and then lunchtime and then dinner,
cool.
The clock reflected. And I believe it's the only cartoon to reflect accurate.
Because most cartoons just leave it at like 12,
because most beavers know the time.
Even more important.
What?
Even more importantly, probably not. Probably not. Yeah. Lots of good things happening.
Yes.
Like, we want to see cheerleading at the Olympics. Duh. We want to see... I mean, I didn't know much about this All-Stars United until you told me about it, but I think it's great. I mean, always open a dialogue to make things not just change, but evolve for the better of the sport. It's kind of like the Gold Rush, and like, all of us are on the Western Front. Like, helping things keep going because it's the newest sport. Like,
who made the most money during the Gold Rush?
Who?
People that sold shovels.
So do we need to sell palms?
Why do you I think you just answered your own question. Who sells the most palms?
Yeah.
And that's it for episode 3. Thanks for listening to the Mark Thru. I'm Scott.
I'm Lauren.
And we appreciate you listening. Make sure you guys subscribe and enjoy. Wasn't bad.
We'll see.
How's this baby?
Those 3 topics actually ended up pulling together really well, though.
Yeah, they did. There's that baby.
You ready for this? Who live is us? Who lit is this? Who real is us? We too legit. We are M-A-R-K-T-H-R-U. Mark Thru Podcast. Listen and learn, watch and observe. Challenging us, they got some nerve. We great. You mad? Don't hate. Get to it. Don't wait. We do not hesitate. We doing what it takes. What we do. Mark Thru.